Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Kirth, and this is my first video for 2018. Hope you guys had a really good New Year's, Christmas. It's back to work now for me, so let's do this. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a headphone today, but that is fitting with today's topic, which I'm going to talk about audio. And right now I'm monitoring the audio for one of the channels that I usually use when I'm doing my work. So I do a lot of corporate videos, which a lot of them includes an interview type scenario. I usually use 2 cameras and I've got 3 sources of audio. So you guys that are watching this, you already know how important the audio element in any video is. So we're not going to go through that again, but I just wanted to show you how I go about capturing my audio and the setup that I use. So typically I use 2 camera angles. So I've got 2 cameras and I use 3 channels of audio. So in no particular order, the first one I use is the boom mic, which is attached to the boom pole and usually sits on the C stand, which is quite sturdy. You can use a regular stand as long as you put enough weight on it to counterbalance once you extend the boom pole. So this boom mic feeds directly via XLR cable into my H5N recorder, and I usually have my recorder attached to the stand with a flexible clamp, so I can position it anywhere I like and I can actually see the levels if I'm not monitoring it directly as I am right now with the headphones. I'd go around and I'll check the levels and I'll unplug the headphone, and that should be fine. As long as I've positioned my subject where it needs to be and I've checked the levels and I make sure it's not peaking, then I'm good to go. So the second channel for audio that I use is the wireless lav system. So I attach the lav to the transmitter on the subject. Right now I'm mic'd up with this. It's hidden because I really don't like the idea of seeing the mic. That's just a personal preference, up to you if you want to do it. But I've got it taped inside of my shirt right here. And that's just listening to the audio on the second channel. So this feeds into the transmitter that sits on one of the cameras, and that goes directly into that camera, which is manually set on the audio levels. Again, I check the levels before I start. What I typically do is set the mic up, have the person speak in a normal tone of voice, have them speak at a higher level, just to make sure that there's no peaking. So I have the receiver mounted on top of this camera, and it is plugged into the mic input of my Canon 5D, which is what I use as a wide angle shot. And the third channel of audio comes from an on-camera mic, which just sits on top of the other camera and plugs into that one. Now that channel of audio is primarily for syncing the audio later in post-production. So I won't normally use that unless there's a big problem. So I already have 2 other channels of really good audio for redundancy purposes, and I've got the third for syncing. So for the third one, if you don't have an on-camera mic, you can use the internal mic for that camera. Obviously, as you know, it won't be great quality, but you're only going to be using it for syncing. But I prefer using an external mic as opposed to the built-in mic, because I just want to give the software a better chance of syncing it quicker and easier if the audio is of a better quality. Now, when I set up the boom mic, I make sure that it is as close to the subject as possible without being in the frame, obviously. So if you've got alternative camera angles where you've got wider shots, then you need to consider this as well. So check all your angles, make sure that the mic or anything that he doesn't want to be in the shot isn't encroaching in there. Now for the lav mic setup, if you conceal it in clothing, it could be prone to shuffling. So if you move your clothing against your skin, you can start to introduce some unwanted noise. So just make sure it's secured in a position where it doesn't move around too much, even if the subject moves. So some people may advise that you start with a clap before the subject starts speaking, and it's good practice, but I normally don't do it because I never really have a problem with the software that I use for syncing. But it's always good practice to have a reference point, a reference spike, so that you can easily sync it later if you're doing it manually or using a program that doesn't handle it that well. So here's some top tips for you based on my experience and based on the mistakes that I have made in the past. So make sure that you have adequate battery power for the project that you're going to do or for the recording that you're going to do. Personally, I'd advise that you make sure that everything is charged. So I'm going to go around this equipment list and tell you what uses batteries and what I need to make sure that is charged. So the boom mic has a battery in it. It's the NTG4 Plus, and there's a battery in this model so that you don't have to use the phantom power on your recorder. So there's a battery in that, ensure that is charged. This one is a rechargeable battery, so you have to make sure that you would have charged it either the night before. It usually lasts quite long, but you just don't want to be caught out. If I do get caught out, then I can use a phantom power on my H5N, which is what it feeds into. Which brings us nicely onto the H5N. A couple projects ago, I was happily recording away, only to look across and notice that there was no lights on here because it had gone dead. And so I lost that channel, and this is a good reason to have a backup. With your wireless system, you've got batteries. Both the transmitter and the receiver take batteries. In this model for the Road Link, they're AA batteries, so make sure your batteries are good in these. There's a battery status indicator on the receiver that tells you how much battery you have left. My on-camera mic is a Rode video mic, and that carries a 9-volt battery, which lasts pretty long. So I usually carry around an extra 9-volt battery with me just for that. So this next tip might be a bit obvious, but make sure you press the record button on your recorder and on the cameras, obviously. With the boom mic, make sure it's switched on if it's got a switch, or in this case, it's got a power button and an LED indicator to tell you that it's on. With the lav system, again, you've got power buttons on these with LED indicator to tell you that it's on. On the video mic that sits on the camera, that also have an on button or on switch that you make sure that you switch on. There's a LED to tell you that it's on as well. And make sure you switch these off after you're finished, or you're just gonna be sitting in your bag draining your batteries. So another tip while I'm here with these wireless systems, they've got a security screw connector. Make sure these are screwed down, because especially the transmitter that sits with the subject, if they're shuffling or moving around, this can easily come apart and you lose that channel of audio, which is also why it's a good idea to periodically check all your levels. Even if you don't monitor with the headphone, just check the levels, make sure that you're getting sound and it's recording. So to summarize, it is always a good idea to have backup audio channels. It is always a good idea. You know, some shoots take time to plan, to book, to execute, so you really don't want to have to redo a whole shoot just because you didn't have the audio or you didn't capture the audio correctly. Even more so if you're doing this professionally, you really just need to protect your reputation as a professional. So guys, that's how I set up my equipment to capture audio in an interview situation, which is what I do a lot. If you do it differently, or if you have other equipment that you use, then please do let me know in the comments below. If you found this useful, let me know in the comments below. If there's anything that I probably missed out that you want to find out about the stuff that I'm using, then do let me know in the comments. So guys, do subscribe to my channel if you wish, and hit that like button. I'd appreciate that. And until next time, keep creating, and I'll see you guys. All the best. Peace.